I thought I heard it all. A 12-year-old victim of abuse was forced to write an apology letter to the abuser. Put up the picture full mass. Let's expose this insanity. In 2016, a 12-year-old child named Taylor reported her sexual assault to Melissa Turnage, a detective with the Polk County Sheriff's Office. She wasn't believed to be truthful. She was told to plead guilty to filing a false police report, and then was forced to write an apology note to her abuser. Taylor spoke tentatively in barely more than a whisper as she told the detective in a recorded interview that her adoptive father, Henry Cadle, had been sexually assaulting her for years. The inappropriate touching had started when she was 9 years old, shortly after Henry and Lisa, Taylor's great uncle, and his wife had adopted her. Over time, the abuse escalated. Now he assaulted her anytime he gets a chance, she said. She didn't like going with him on errands because it happened then on the side of a quiet road that cut through a swamp. Standing outside the car, he would pull out his privates. He would put his privates inside her privates, she told Detective Turnage. Taylor could not say how many times he had violated her, but it had happened just the night before. He did it whenever they drove to get milk, to which was 3 times a week. So the adoptive father was questioned by the same detective. So Henry, who was 57, spoke about his relationship with Taylor with a breezy confidence. She had anger issues and could be difficult, traits he attributed to her rocky upbringing, but he loved her to death. Quote, does she have dad wrapped around her finger? Yes. Everybody will tell you that, Henry said. Rather than asking him if he had sexually abused Taylor, the detective floated a theory. Basically, Taylor, I guess, has made up these allegations, okay? That you have been sexually abusing her. Henry brimmed with righteous indignation. Quote, why in the heck she would conjure up something like this about me? I don't know. Only thing I've ever did with that kid is loved her. In a jarring interview, Taylor discloses what happened afterwards. Here it is.
Instead of Henry Cadle going to court, 13-year-old Taylor faced a judge for a charge of lying to police. She had no lawyer, only her adoptive mother, Henry Cadle's wife.
I walked into that courtroom, scared out of my mind, and my mom told me in the car to just plead guilty and get it over with.
She was sentenced to 1 year of probation with community service. She also had to write 2 apology letters. Using her cell phone, 13-year-old Taylor made sure she got bulletproof evidence this time.
She had taken some photographs with her phone. She also took pictures of an empty condom box.
Is the exact phone that I used in the 2017 case. I pulled up the camera, and on this specific phone, if you just tap the screen anywhere, it just takes a picture. So in my head, I was like basically kind of like swiping, but in reality, I was taking pictures of everything that was happening.
Taylor then went back to meet with the detective after collecting her own evidence. Quote, what's going on, Taylor? The detective asked. Because you understand, if your dad goes to jail, he doesn't come back. Ah, wait a minute. So detective, you were well aware that this child was being abused. You weren't tricked. You did not disbelieve the story. This is not a good faith mistake. This is not the bias of law enforcement. This is down, dirty corruption. There would be other consequences too, the detective said. Her dad's lawnmower repair business was shut down. Her mom would lose the car while police checked it for DNA. She wouldn't get those shoes she wanted or the braces she needed. They're going to pull you from your mom and your brother, and you're going to have to go back into foster care, Detective Turnage said. A moment passed, and then another. Finally, in a small, strained voice, Taylor said, quote, "Everything I told you earlier is not a lie." That Detective Turnage told Taylor that she was going to go to the regional hospital to have a sexual assault kit done. Taylor did not know what that was. Put him up. Henry Cadle was eventually charged with sexual assault for assaulting Taylor, somebody he was trusted to take care of. February 2019, Henry was allowed to plead no contest to sexual battery of a child. He was sentenced 17 years in prison. This is not an outlier. Researchers say banning sex ed lessons from our school is shielding sex abusers. Situation like this happens, obviously. The officer involved or the detective who seemingly was aware of the abuse, in my opinion, should be arrested for conspiracy. There's a meeting of the minds as soon as she had a conversation with that SOB who decided to do what he did. But see, the system won't work that way for a child. The system won't work that way against the detective. The detective was spinning. Oh, I was just putting up a barrier just to see if the story was the same. They're allowed to do that. Legally, according to the US Supreme Court, they can lie even to a victim in order to validate a story. So to utilize these parameters in order to get away with corruption, I'm very thankful for the courage and the truthfulness of this young person. You did the right thing, and God bless you for getting this monster the hell up out of here. All right, Jackson, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, this is just completely disgusting and despicable in every way. Because as you pointed out, and as we saw, this detective knew what was going on, and for whatever reason, he believed that this man's freedom was more important than justice for a child who was being abused. And he's going to have a rough time in prison, but
Yes.
that's what he earned himself. That's exactly what he earned for himself. And of course, this happened in Florida. No shock there. But I mean, like, well, she's lying. You got to write an apology letter for lying. Like, she's 12. She's 12, 13 years old. Like, I mean, I
Yeah.
don't really know what else more to say about this, honestly. This just is completely horrible.
Yeah.
But luckily he's going to prison now. But I mean, it could have not went that way based on the detectives.
Right. If the detective had it her way, it would not have gone that way. And the other part of this, the fact that the detective, the wheels of justice, so to speak, made this child write a letter, that was to protect the system.
Yeah.
That was to protect the detective. That was so they could say, wait a minute, but she wrote a letter and said she made it up and apologized to the alleged abuser. What are we supposed to do? It was to protect them,
Yeah.
not to protect her.